was actually writing a business plan. Here's some of the secrets that I learnt not to do at university. Not to take this particular knowledge into the real world. Now, those students who wrote business plans and passed could actually tell you where am I now and where I want to be in their business plan, but that's about the extent of it. 36 pages of waffle. That was worth a pass conceded, a 4, maybe a 5. I learnt that there's another step in writing a business plan. Not just where am I now and where do I want to be, but the how am I going to get there. And I've translated that to activity-based business planning. The students who could write that successfully, where am I now, where do I want to be, how am I going to get there, the activities, they were worth a 6, a 5 perhaps, but a 6. But there was a 4th ingredient. And the students that were able to get, where am I now, where do I want to be, how am I going to get there, and how will I know that I'm being successful, they're the people that got the 7s, the high distinctions. So I've learnt that there are 4 rules of business planning. Any business plan will do. Any plan must answer those 4 questions. Where am I now? Where do I want to be? How am I going to get there? And how will I know that I'm getting there? And from that knowledge of how not to write a business plan for micro and small businesses, I distilled the document that's on your seat, Business Planning on a Postcard. So that is a business plan, people. You can write a business plan over a cup of coffee. Today I'm going to share with you how to actually do that. I trust that it's informative. I trust that it actually helps some of you. But I think we realise that we have seen over many, many years the academic writing. And we know those phrases, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We know from some significant studies that PricewaterhouseCoopers, you know, our own Brisbane mob, write some very, very good papers. 2 years ago, 2016, they wrote a great paper on business planning in their circle of clients. And what they found, that those who had written a business plan were 60-something% more likely to achieve their goals. And of those who wrote the business plan were something like 60% more likely to exceed their goals than those who don't write a business plan. Now, I'm not saying that us in this room need to write that sort of business plan. What I'm saying is a business plan is an essential ingredient. Now, I've started 3 different accounting practices over my life. I've sold each one of them. The last business plan accountancy practice that I started in around about 2003, when I came to Brisbane and couldn't find a job, because I came from Sydney, and I was doing my MBA. I was a very important man in a very important business, doing a very important job. And in fact, doing that very important job for a very important organisation in a very important world really taught me that working in businesses like that is like having your hand in a bucket of water. As soon as you take your hand out, it's as if you never existed. That's big companies for you. I miss the money, but I don't miss the work. I learned then that those 30-page business plans where you have financial controllers, we have strategic management, they don't have business plans anymore, do they? They're strategic plans and strategic initiatives. They're all too busy to think at the level with which we need to write business plans. So our business plans can be written on a single piece of paper, and you can write that business plan if you think along the lines of, where am I now? Where do I want to be? How am I going to get there? And how will I know that I'm getting there? And in actual fact, it's now called in academia activity-based planning. We had activity-based costing when I was a young accountant, but it's now called activity-based planning. And there's lots and lots of papers being written about it. But we know that activity-based planning for small to medium enterprises relies upon us. Nobody else is going to do it for us. And I know all the reasons why business planning doesn't work. I'm too tired, I'm too busy, I don't have special knowledge, I don't have time to stop the world. How should I write a plan when nobody else wants it? It's that level of accountability. Let me start one more time. Let's put that aside for just a moment. Being in business is like being in a race. Imagine you are at the start line and you know there's a big road ahead of you. And the starter's gun goes off, bang, and you're off, you're in business. At any point in time, you are going to encounter hassles. Let's imagine that first hurdle that you encounter is this humongous great elastic band put right across your path. Now, one of three possible things can occur when you encounter that elastic band. You hit that elastic band and you struggle and you hit that pain barrier and it flings you back and you end up on your bum. You're out of the game. You might start, you might run, you might hit that elastic band and you hit that elastic band and you struggle, but it pushes you back. But in this instance, you remain on your feet. You're not defeated. You have hit that pain barrier, the athlete's pain barrier that we talk about, but you're on your feet. You're ready to attack it again. And you do. And ultimately, you break through that pain barrier. And in breaking through that pain barrier, you learn, you encounter, you morph into something that's different. I'm going to share something with you right now that is the first academic drawing that I'm going to share with you. I trust you can see that in green, or should I change the colour? Thank you, I will change the colour. There are 7 stages of business success. I start a business. I've got a job. I've got a nightmare. I've got a business. I've got a franchise. I can exit. Of those 7 stages, we can write a business plan that is commensurate with each one of those stages now. We've learned that if we're activity-based planning, we don't need to write a business plan at startup that is a business plan for a mature exit strategy type business plan. Our goal is to write a business plan that will help us break through the very next hurdle, the first pain barrier, the second pain barrier, the third pain barrier. Look at this. I call this the mad mile because the characteristic of this sort of business is grow and shrink, grow and shrink. Let me give you an example of a level 3 business that is hitting the pain barrier. This is a common statement by a business owner at a level 3 business. You can't find good staff. You can't train them because if you train them, they're gone. They'll want your business. But let's just go back a little bit. Before we get to the mad mile, we know that who among us has read Michael Gerber's The E-Myth, please? Brilliant. I'm not telling you anything you haven't already read. I'm just framing it in a slightly different way. I'm overlaid the 7 stages of business success. Depending on which academic paper you read, there's 5 stages, 7 stages. I ascribe to the 7 stages. The 7 stages of business success start with that technician in us. The technician in us starts a business, an accountant because I know how to do tax, a plumber because I have a plumber's qualification, trade qualifications, a dentist. Each of us who start a business are starting it because of the skills within our fingertips. But sooner or later, the skills that start a business are not the skills that will grow a business. And that's where it subscribes to the theories that as you encounter that first pain barrier, I've got a dream when I start a business. The crisis is losing the dream. And you've seen those people that start businesses and the very first time somebody says, hey, would you like a job? Thank God for that. I'm out of here. That's why when I started the business in Brisbane, when we moved up from Sydney, I couldn't find a job. It was, you're overqualified, you've got the wrong qualifications, you've got too many qualifications, you'll want my job, you're too old, you're too young, you didn't go to grammar. So yes, it caused me concern, but the capacity to start a business was simply driven by the necessity, and it was the technician, it was the accounting practice and the accountant in me that started that business. So technicians start a business. But by the time we move, what is the characteristic of a level 1 business? We'll touch on that in just a moment. By the time I get to that pain barrier, the crisis of losing the dream, I've had to learn something, I've had to move. I'm still a technician, however, even up to level 3 business, and we'll talk about the characteristics. But then life starts to change, and you'll see that the downward trend at a level 3 business, and the reason I talk about the mad mile or the downward trend, it coincides. Michael Gerber, those of us that have read Michael Gerber, they say there's the entrepreneur and the manager and the technician. At about level 3, that technician in you has got to change, because the culture, the business, the need and wants of the role that you now occupy has changed. The technician in you is not going to grow that business. That's how we learn. And I've read another academic paper that says it takes about 10 years for a person to become a half-decent business person. That's why you see entrepreneurs and millionaires say, how I got my second and my third million. For a lot of people, it's easy to make money. It's almost impossible to keep it. So, let's dwell a little bit more on the stages, the 7 stages of business. And I'll only go up to level 4 because of the time constraints we have. A level 1 business is essentially you alone. How does a level 1 business operate? It's your job as a level 1 business to produce the thing that you produce as efficiently as possible. Because you're a technician, you know how to do it, but you've got to do it faster. You've got to provide that service more cost effectively. You've got to worry not about the thing that you provide. You've got to worry about the person who is the next person to buy. In terms of marketing for a level 1 business is find your first client. If I found my first client, and let's perchance say that it's Elizabeth. Elizabeth arrives at my metaphorical front door to buy my thing or my good or my service because of a problem that she has and it's unmet, and I can solve that problem. So she has a number of questions that she has asked, and I'm the answer. But if I push Elizabeth aside one little bit, I've got another and another and another who arrive at my metaphorical front door because they've asked themselves the same questions. They've arrived because I'm the answer to the same questions. So if we're in marketing mode, I've got to find Elizabeth times 2, 3, 4, 5. I must know what it is that she asked of the thing, the good, the service, and I repeat that because that is my marketing. Forget about big, bold marketing plans. You need a sniper's rifle as a level 1 business because you can't do it all, and you can't do it all for people who you don't know. I don't have a David. I don't have a James. I have an Elizabeth, Mark 1, 2, 3, and 4. That is the marketing plan, not 36 pages. Your marketing goal is to find that segment that your first client provided you the clues for. Let me share something with you. The second diagram. Now, this was going to be a PowerPoint presentation. I hope you actually are grateful that I'm not going to give you death by PowerPoint. I'm just going to give you 2 drawings. I'm concentrating on marketing today. I trust that's acceptable to you. I could have concentrated on operations as a component of the 1-page business plan. I could have concentrated on finance and administration, my pet subject. After all, I am an accountant. Marketing is important. If I was to talk to you about market penetration, that's an academic word, or product differentiation, this actually was created by a chap called Ansoff. If you look up that, you'll see his version. Mine's dumbed down. So if I talk to you about You're a startup business or a level 1 business, and the characteristics of a level 1, the business is you. Every phone call comes to you. People want you. It's your skill and experience they've heard about. If I talk to you about marketing for a level 1 business, you've got to be selling the same stuff to the same people time after time after time. We talked about operation where I said you've got to drive the efficiency of producing it, but in terms of the marketing, you've got to actually work out, why did Elizabeth buy from me, so that you can tailor your marketing to Elizabeth. Irrespective of Elizabeth, the person may not come back, but the characteristics of Elizabeth, the same stuff to the same people, you've got to find her. That sniper's rifle is the most critical thing you've got. Don't try to do everything to everybody. A level 1 business, same stuff to the same people. What is the pain barrier? What's that crisis? If that crisis actually is the crisis of losing the dream, that elastic band that is across that racing track that we used as our analogy, you've hit that and you've been flung back and you are on your bum. You could get hit that and you get, but you're still on your feet. The ultimate stage is you actually break through that. You've broken through the pain barrier. It's a good thing. The bad thing, there's a few more to actually go.